There's location, location, location. Then there's homes and loved ones lost. As the IDF's offensive in Gaza City intensifies, new details have emerged of a development plan that was doing the rounds in Washington. An attempt to realize Donald Trump's vision for Gaza, articulated like this back in February.
The Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad, this could be so magnificent.
Cue the AI-generated content reposted by Trump. But before the real estate pitch, the reality. In the last 24 hours, according to Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry, 98 Palestinians were killed by the IDF. Abu Muhammad Dalul's brother, for example, died in an airstrike today.
What did he do wrong? He had nothing on him. He has young children. They've now been orphaned. For the sake of God, stop the war.
Officials said today that 46 people were killed while trying to access aid. Over 2,000 people have now died in similar circumstance. Most of those deaths occurred near sites run by the controversial US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Some of the people behind it are also reportedly behind a proposal for a post-war Gaza. A separate group looked at the money. Financial planning around the proposal was done by a team working for the giant management consultancy Boston Consulting Group. They have offices in that rotunda-shaped skyscraper behind me here in Tel Aviv. Now, they've subsequently distanced themselves from this proposal, and a number of executives involved have been fired. Nonetheless, this proposal was obviously designed to appeal to Donald Trump, America's estate agent president. For one thing, it's called the Gaza Reconstitution, Economic Acceleration and Transformation Trust, acronym GREAT. It is blue sky thinking, where the blue skies are on a different planet. The idea: a network of sci-fi-style AI-powered smart cities along the length of the Strip. The plan envisages the relocation of all of Gaza's 2 million-plus population. Their options: voluntary relocation to another country or into restricted, secured zones. Those who own land would be offered a digital token in exchange for rights to redevelop their property, to be redeemed for an apartment in a rebuilt residence or to fund a new life elsewhere. Each Palestinian who chooses to leave would be given a $5,000 cash payment and subsidies to cover 4 years of rent as well as a year of food. There are some words noticeably missing from this estate agent-style pitch: ethnic cleansing, forced displacement, post-war sustainable governance. The whole thing is almost laughable, except for the fact that critics would say it was designed by the authors because they thought it would appeal to the President of the United States. According to Gaza's health ministry, 9 people died of hunger and malnutrition on the Strip in the last 24 hours. You can't eat digital tokens, our management consultants reports. Now, perhaps to underline how bolted together this proposal is, on the infrastructure rebuilding Gaza section, IKEA's logo features. Now, today we reached out to IKEA, and cue the sound of corporate jaws hitting the floor. They responded to our question, are you going to be involved in rebuilding Gaza, with the following statement: this is surprising and new information for us. IKEA is not aware of this initiative and can confirm that we have not approved the use of the IKEA logo in this context. Now listen, back in the real world of Gaza's future, there was a cabinet security meeting last night here in Israel, and according to Israeli media, the chief of staff of the IDF wanted to talk about furthering negotiations around a hostage deal, but the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again rejected that idea, wanting instead the meeting to exclusively focus on this rebooted military operation inside Gaza City. And one more thought interject, if I may. Those images you saw in our report from inside Gaza were brought to you by journalists who live and work there. Journalists like myself are not allowed there. And those journalists, just like many Gazans, are looking for food for themselves and their family. But they are doing so at the same time as wanting to shine a light on what's happening in their home.
Thanks, Porrick. Porrick O'Brien, live in Tel Aviv. Well, the world's leading genocide scholars association has passed a resolution saying the legal criteria has now been met to establish that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. Israel's foreign ministry branded the decision disgraceful, saying it was based on Hamas's campaign of lies. Professor Tim Williams is the second vice president of the International Association of Genocide Scholars and professor of insecurity and social order at the University of the Bundeswehr, Munich. Professor Williams, could you have reached this conclusion realistically a year ago? A lot of the things you describe in your reasoning appear to have been going on for some time in Gaza.
Absolutely. I think it would have been difficult to pass the resolution a year ago because I think there were many more balls in the air in terms of knowing reliable numbers and of knowing really the intent of the Israeli government and military. Having said that, I mean, yes, the resolution could have probably been passed sooner than it was. But I think that's one of the hallmarks of academic research, is that it really wants to wait until there is enough evidence to make a very strong call. And I don't think any of our members were going to pitch a resolution until they could be certain that a strong majority of the members were going to also go with it. And in the end, 86% of our voting members did vote to pass the resolution.
Yeah. And just over a week ago, we had a declaration of famine in parts of Gaza. And today, little seems to have changed as a result. And we've had another statement through on Twitter, this time from the Israeli government, accusing your association of being an embarrassment to the legal profession. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't think anyone expected the Israeli government to be particularly supportive of our resolution, but I don't think that changes anything about the facts on the ground that we were analysing, and that the vast majority of our members came to believe that the crime of genocide is being committed. There are very specific violent actions which are connected to that. Killing, mental and physical harm being committed, and the deliberate destruction of the conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of a group. And we see that happening, that the Israeli government denies it.
Do you think this will have a tangible difference in any way, shape or form on the Israeli actions?
I think what it does do is it tells governments around the world that the foremost association on genocide scholars, and we do that every day, we look at genocides, various different cases, thinks that this is a genocide, and it can have a certain amount of academic credentials to anyone now claiming that it is genocide. So I do hope that governments around the world, I don't think it's going to persuade the Israeli government to change its mind as in and of itself, but hopefully it will figure into some of the political debates happening in third countries.
I mean, a lot of people may look at what's happening in Gaza, and for them that automatically reaches the threshold of genocide. But do you think there is a difference between what parts of the public think and the legal definition of genocide, which actually sets quite a high bar?
Absolutely. Genocide is not just mass killing. It's also other crimes, like I was saying, for instance, also the deliberate destruction of foundations of life. But also there is a high bar set by the intent to destroy. There has to be the perpetrators of genocide have to want to eradicate the target group in whole or in part. And I think that's where there's been most debate. But we have seen many government leaders, cabinet ministers and senior army officials making explicit statements over the last now almost 2 years. Through that, I think eventually our members see that the bar has been fulfilled.
Just briefly, Professor Williams, I mean, just briefly, under Article 1 of the Genocide Convention, it states that other states also need to prevent acts of genocide. Do you think this will have any effect in focusing minds in that respect?
I hope so. I think we've seen over the last couple of months that particularly several European powers, the UK, France, Germany, are starting to shift their thinking and their relations to Israel. And I hope that this is sort of one piece of the mosaic of evidence and of appeals to change those policies and to exert pressure on Israel to change the way that they are fighting the war in Gaza.
Okay.